Hello, everyone. Welcome to All In on Real Estate. I'm your host, Aaron Goins. I started this meetup because years ago, when I was in the military, no one in my circles talked about real estate. A lot of times we talk about debt and other things of wealth, but never about real estate. So I want to start a meetup where people can learn about real estate and start developing generational wealth for them and their families. So I'm really excited for our guest speaker. Happy New Year to everybody. This is the first one of the year. Monika, how you doing?
So great. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for coming. Thank you for being my first guest speaker of the year. I'm really excited to get to know you and talk to you and talk some real estate with you. So I want to ask my first question. I always ask, how did you get started into real estate?
So we got started into real estate after years of trying to invest and build wealth the traditional way. So I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and we have 4 kids. So life gets pretty expensive. And part of being a stay-at-home mom, meant to obviously be able to manage the finances and the money to make this possible. So we were consistently, doing the traditional savings vehicles, doing everything we're taught to do, save your 10%, grow your money for retirement, help fund your kids' university or a college education fund, do everything that we were taught, the Susie Orman sort of wealthy barber way. And when 2008 happened, we lost everything. And we realized how little control we had over our investments. And it was just time to start doing something differently. So around that time, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad book crossed my desk, and we were just blown away and knew that we were doing financial planning totally incorrectly all these years. It just put a total tailspin on our financial literacy perspective, and we had to start doing something differently. And we started investing in real estate.
Wow. That's quite a story. That's quite a story. You guys were doing a different kind of way, and then COVID hit and everything changed.
Oh, well, COVID happened way after that, but that COVID totally changed everything for us too.
Right. I understand.
Wow, I think COVID changed everything for everyone, but yeah.
Right. Well, recession hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Recession hit, right. So, I've heard that before with people, that something dramatic happens in the world and it's a shift. Let me ask you this, what was the mindset shift after reading the book for you?
It was really just these concepts that you never really considered before, like, the difference between assets and liabilities. The difference, that was just huge. I always thought, go to school, work hard, get a job, and trade time for money. And so it was just everything that it was in our portfolio and that we were doing that we thought were assets were liabilities, and everything we thought were liabilities were really assets. And we had no idea how real estate worked, which is really funny because, and I always put our students, in that in that seat, and remember what it's like to not even understand. I remember when we bought this house, our first house that we were living in our personal residence, they actually had to explain to us what a mortgage agent was, how they're going to help you get this, what a home inspector is, what they do. Like, we knew absolutely nothing about real estate aside from buying a house, living in it, paying off your mortgage, and then one day retiring. And so it really was interesting what Robert Kiyosaki teaches you, not only to buy real estate to create wealth, but also how to use strategic leverage, how to turn your house from an liability into an asset. And that was just huge. And, we just had no idea where to get started. And the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, I know everyone loves that book. It's everyone's favorite book. It's a great book, and it will teach you about building wealth through real estate, and it'll teach you financial literacy concepts, but it's not going to teach you how to invest in real estate. So.
Right. Great points. Great points. Love it. So what was the next steps for you after you read the book and you guys got excited and started looking into real estate for you?
Well, at that point, when 2008 hit, I think everyone needs to have a certain point, a point of pain before they actually go forward and really take action. right? And so for us, this was the 2008, it was losing everything. It was a lack of control. And we just went for it. We actually just went out and we bought 3 properties basically. And this actually was after our traditional financial planner inadvertently showed us how to use strategic leverage. This was through one of the all-in-one consolidation loans. So without even knowing really what we were doing, we actually were able to use some equity from our home to buy, have money to invest in real estate. We didn't even know what this really was at that time, but that's how we were able to get the funds and able to just finally go for it. So after we went for it, we realized that no one else in our community was doing what we wanted to do. None of our friends, none of our family. We couldn't even tell my family that what we were doing because I knew they would try to talk me out of it. So it was kind of a bit of a secret on that front. Well, we just kind of navigated the waters and figured out how to do this on our own. And so from that point, we actually ended up realizing we have these 3 homes, but we really still don't know what we're doing. So we went out to one of those real estate seminars and we overinvested in our real estate education. And there's a lot of real estate information education out there today. Obviously, we are a real estate education company, but this was like, and you probably know these companies because you've probably been doing this for a while, but like those big companies that go through state to state to state to state and get you in the hotel rooms and they charge you $300 for this. Sorry, first it was free. Robert Kiyosaki wasn't there, unfortunately. That was sad. But then we had $300 for like a 3-day weekend or 2-day weekend. And then next thing you know, we're in the hallway up in the credit card limits. It's just a huge process. We spent a lot of money on these real estate courses and a mentorship because we knew we needed the education to get going. But because this was like close to 6 figures that we spent, and we didn't have this, and we also didn't have really the time to do it because at this point we had 3 small children. And it was really, really a huge responsibility for our family to take on that kind of debt and kind of, responsibility. So, because it's not like this was money we just had lying around, we are just living pretty much hand to mouth at this point. And so after we accrued this big debt and we felt this tremendous responsibility to act fast. So we actually completed 6 courses twice, in person and online, and a 3-day mentorship in like maybe 6 months. And so every time we went on and studied a course, we would be out there implementing the strategy. So if I was taking a rent to own course, we were doing rent to owns. If we were taking wholesaling, we were wholesaling. If we were doing commercial, we were buying buildings. Like we were actually out there doing this, doing it with other people and really, really trying to act because we couldn't afford not to. Now, we were very successful in a lot of these projects and a lot of the information was great information, but the lessons came through application. So the last thing this industry needs is another cookie cutter course telling a whole room of people that these are the solutions that's going to help you build wealth, because it doesn't work that way. And where was my coach when we were in the construction, like our construction project going belly up, right? So there was no really application there like that they assist you with, or actually that live training, that live mentorship. So we actually ended up making $1 million in mistakes in real estate investing in our first few years of investing, simply because we completed over 100 transactions our first year of real estate investing alone and kept up that pace through years 2 and 3. And we were I'm like a psychotic real estate investor or something. And a lot of wholesaling, a lot of assignments, a lot of transactions, everything we were doing real estate for in the first place, which was for me to be a stay-at-home mom, that wasn't even happening. That wasn't even happening because all I was doing was real estate, pretty much 20 hours a day. And we made a lot of money, but we made $1 million in mistakes as well. So we probably lost as much as we were making, but it's the lessons that we learned along the way. And we also started a real estate community similar to what you're doing, because we had no support. So these communities are always great. And from that, we actually grew our wealth network, and they kind of guided us along the way, grew with us. And we really learned, to stop doing so much so soon. We learned the importance of education, but education that's actually applies to people, because it wasn't until I stopped and restructured our real estate portfolio to what we needed it to do. and stop doing every sort of real estate investment strategy under the sun to just try to do so much just because we spent so much, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, wow, that's amazing right there. So what was one of your biggest takeaways during that journey? That you look back at now.
So everyone in that journey, we were just, we talk about this in the book Real Estate Mistakes. I think there's one sort of chapter we actually called Real Estate Rock Stars. And real estate investing is a really, really interesting field that everyone probably similarly experiences this thing. And I'm wondering if you've had this experience too, actually. So I might ask you, is that when you start out your life on that traditional route, and you go to school, you work hard, you're trading time for money, and you realize the potential with real estate, you kind of enter a world that you didn't know existed. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Yes, I do.
And it's an interesting, fascinating world. It's a very powerful world. And it's a real estate is the number one wealth builder. All of a sudden, you're introduced to a world with unlimited income potential. It's exciting, it's fast. You don't have that ceiling anymore. You could really create whatever it is you want. And it's very, very common to get very, very excited and run away with it, sort of like we did. And most real estate investors, just because they're all of a sudden introduced to so much freedom and like possibility in this amazing world of business, is they get it in their heads that they need to have multiple transactions or strategies. A lot of investors I hear, their initial goal is to have 100 homes. Have you heard that a lot in your groups? I want 100 homes.
Yeah, 100 doors. Yeah, more. Mm-hmm.
And so I think people kind of have this sort of, earmarked in their brain or on their list of success that $100 homes or 100 homes makes you a real estate investor or makes you a successful, real estate investor. And that was sort of the goal that we were changing. But when we stopped and restructured, because when I hear people saying, yeah, I have, 60 doors or 100 doors, I'm like, well, what's the value of your portfolio? And then they say $3 million. Well, to me, that doesn't make sense. If they say $15 million, to me, that doesn't make sense. Because what we train people to do and what we've done is created a $20 million portfolio on 10 properties. And when you learn to do that and you learn to structure real estate in a less is more approach, it's a very, very powerful investment, an investment that you can control. Now, of course, we could have 100 doors, and we've done multiple properties like that. But in that case, you're a syndicator, or you're running a fund, or you're doing something with another group of investors that really is going to that next level opportunity, not simply just collecting properties just to go around and say, I have 100 properties or I have 100 doors, because that makes you more of a real estate investor. So that's what I think the lesson that we share a lot is in real estate. First of all, the biggest lesson is you don't have to be a full-time real estate investor, but you have to have real estate in your portfolio. Everyone has to have real estate in their portfolio if they're going to be getting by financially in society today. It doesn't matter if it's active, it doesn't matter if it's passive. And we say the average rule of thumb is if everyone has their personal residence and they have between 1 to 3 long-term investment properties, and maybe one property that is sort of, they can do it passively, but it brings in more of a cash injection once a year. Like maybe you partner with a flipper, or maybe you have some sort of strategy that brings in an extra $50,000, $100,000 a year that can match that income that you're making. This is the real wealth recipe that most people have to have. But even one portfolio or one real estate property in your portfolio, just for the average American person, could help fund a multi-million-dollar retirement, can help send their kids to college. It could help them even make a little bit more money every month. So I think real estate is so powerful. It doesn't have to be something that people collect. It doesn't have to be something people spend 20 hours a day doing. It really, you can take that less is more approach and be a very, very successful person, never mind real estate investor.
I love it. I love everything you're saying. Let's dig in a little bit into your book. Was you thinking about, when did you start thinking about publishing a book? Like, or was you in your journey? Did you did you I know some people write down notes as they go along and have a whole bunch of notes and they want to make a book. What was the idea behind the book?
Okay, so this is a little bit embarrassing, but the book was actually a bit of a lark. So when we initially had a book, we trained with a very close business coach of ours. We actually worked with him for 5 years, and he's the one that really pulled our head out of the sand. He wasn't a real estate coach, he was a business coach, but he pulled our head out of the sand, stopped us from doing all these simultaneous strategies, and really kind of got us to be laser focused, which led us to where we are today. And so he was consistently doing different business, growth strategies with his clients and students. And he came up with a formula of how to write a book in 3 weeks. So I was laughing about this, and I was saying, Joey, how can someone write a book in 3 weeks? I'm like, okay, Joey, I'll take you up on this. I'll be your guinea pig on this project, and you can put me to the test here. I'm going to be your guinea pig. I'm going to write this book in 3 weeks for you. But actually, no, you have to give me 3 months, because I have 4 kids. I have a new baby here, and we're going to write this book. But give us 3 months. And I think we actually completed it more than 3 months. So he introduced us to the book publisher. We decided to do a tell-all from the heart, because I didn't feel like I was in a spot to tell people what to do at that point. I really was in that point of our journey where we are fixing so many of the things that we've done wrong. And it was a really, really emotional time for our family, because it really, really has some serious financial repercussions. Like, thank God we never went bankrupt or anything like that. But what we went through and really pulled ourselves out of, was really, really a huge emotional journey. So a lot of emotion was pretty fresh and raw there. So writing the book as a tell-all was pretty easy for us to do. He aligned us with a book publisher. I just kind of basically poured my heart out on these pages. She worked behind me, refined it a little bit, did all the other things. The problem with writing a book, I think a lot of people have books. Everyone has a book in them, which is great. It's the little details to get that book on the shelf and in bookstores and get it out there on Amazon. I think there's a lot of great books that live on people's computers or on their hearts. So we got the book out, and we didn't do too much, with it. It has been on sale since 2016. And so we put the book out there, and since then, we've created a lot of different IP, a lot of different presentations, workcourses, presentations. And so from that book, we just actually recently went back to the book publisher. We've just republished it. So now if you go on Amazon and look up Real Estate Mistakes, Our Mistakes, Your Success, we have a brand new cover. We revamped the US edition of the book, and it just literally came out. Actually, I just got my physical hard copies today. It just came out re-released on Amazon last week. And so this book really is more about, our actual true story, but each chapter ends with a section called Hindsight is 2020, because the mistakes that you make as a real estate investor, it's not anything huge. It's just the little things. And if we could help one person avoid those mistakes that we made, because we know what it's like to be alone, we know what it's like to be unguided, and we know what it's like to really put yourself out there, mistakes are inevitable if you don't have some sort of guidance. So our goal really is one person picks up that book and reads that when they're on their journey and a similar thing happens, they're like, oh, I remember those crazy people in that book. Real estate mistakes. I'm not going to make the mistakes like they made. Now, another exciting thing is actually real estate wins, Our Systems, Your Success is also going to be released, and that's coming out this spring. So that really is more of a how to, what to do book, where we share our actual systems on how people can invest in real estate, like we call it, the real way. So they don't have to be alone, unguided, or just mismatching information and trying to figure it out on their own.
Wow. Okay. I'm definitely gonna pull it up and show everybody the book before this is over with. What was the reaction? What was the reaction people gave to you or follow when they first read your book?
A lot of books just really, I think they really appreciated the candor of the book, and that it was just so openly written, and it wasn't from a tell you perspective. It was more of a tell all perspective. And I think we really opened ourselves up and made ourselves vulnerable. I think the last thing this world needs and this industry needs is another know-it-all out there. And, just when you can really relate to people, and I just have so much respect for people that really move past their fear and invest in real estate and tries for anyone who really does anything to improve themselves. I have so much respect for those people, because it takes a lot of, bravery to really get outside that box and move past that circle that that box we're sort of stuck into. And so that was really what people appreciated, that they don't feel so alone. And they feel that those little, like I said, those little tips that sort of came up on their journey, it did provide some sort of guide for people to reflect on when they were actually in the field and looking to actually go and invest in the real estate themselves.
Right. Let me just share real quick. Just want to share real quick, everybody, to see the book right here.
That's the new, the other cover was very boring. So we decided to actually put ourselves on the cover this time.
Yeah, cool.
And you know what? The reason we really did this, it was so funny, was because the point of the book really, and the real estate wins actually has a normal picture of the two of us, the exact same picture, but we're actually standing normally and smiling. So it's the exact same color. So we designed that with the book cover, just to kind of show people, don't take yourself so seriously. And this isn't out to be some big celebrity book author. It really is a light-hearted book that's really there just to relate with people, because at RPI Education, which is the name of our company, we are here to help everyday people, and we're everyday people, and we're still growing and learning too. Every day, and especially with what's happening in today's economy and today's market, as anyone who's actively managing an investment portfolio, we're all dealing with the same conditions. And so it's really important for all of us to unite together and share ideas and really kind of navigate these uncharted waters together as well, because there's a lot of question marks with what's happening in the economy today. So I love to think that we're learning amongst our students and really just trying to encourage people to stop doing things the traditional way. And there's a new way that people have to start investing and improve their financial literacy.
Right. No, definitely understand. And you guys can see that it's on Amazon and available. And you say students, right? So how is it for you to have students and in the nuances? You was a teacher or something like that as well, right?
Well, I got my master's in teaching, and I never actually worked as a teacher. So when we were in Australia, my husband's Australian, I was finishing my teaching degree. And before that, we were married and I had my first son. And I literally gave birth and then went and finished my exams, and everyone went off and did their final teaching prac. And I wasn't able to join them, but I had to get it done for a year in that year. Otherwise, my whole master's degree would be forfeited. So I had to leave the baby, like so many women do, and, went to the classroom, was teaching 52 kids, for 12 weeks. And it wasn't a good experience. I was a young mom. It was just, I didn't know much. I was new wife, new mom, new teacher, didn't know up from down, but I knew I couldn't do this. I couldn't spread myself thin in every single area of my life. I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the energy. And I was actually being physically ill from that. And that was my moment where I said, I'm going to finish this and I'm going to finish what I start, but I want to create that life of freedom. I want to have a life of time, money, freedom. And I want to be there for my kids. My number one job on this earth is going to be a wife and to be a mother to this child and any other child that comes this way, which is super exciting because that child is now almost 19 years old. And so I have been a stay-at-home mom for almost 19 years now, which is really exciting. And also my husband, after we got in this real estate journey, we figured out a way for on his 40th birthday, he was able to knock on his boss's door and quit. And so he too works as a full-time real estate investor. And this is our livelihood. So neither of us have to do those occupations anymore.
Impressive. Wow. That's awesome right there. That's awesome. I'm gonna get to something that we talked about earlier. How did COVID affect you and your business?
COVID actually affected our business in a really positive way, believe it or not. So before COVID, what we were looking to do with that real estate community that we started over 13 years ago, we actually started a community in person. What we were working on before COVID was to expand this community. And we had different chapters all in different areas of our region, really. And we didn't realize this, but once again, we were kind of burning ourselves out a little bit, but we were on the road 1 or 2 times a night hosting events in these different areas, trying to train these chapter facilitators to start taking over these areas so we can help expand our reach and help more people invest in real estate. So soon as COVID hit, all of our in-person stuff just stopped. Like we had no place to meet. Now, fortunately, we always had all of our IP online and on a membership portal online. So all our recordings, all our information, all that like learning tools that people can actually go online and access. So we already were online to a certain extent, but with COVID, we had to switch to online completely. So 2 things happened. The one thing happened was all of our students and the people that we were currently helping, as well as ourselves, had a lot of question marks about what, do you remember COVID? Like how bad that was when it first happened? Remember when the government was telling tenants, oh, you don't need to pay your rent? And do you remember when the real estate agents like couldn't even show properties anymore, or, and what was happening with the market? Like there were so many different questions. And also it was a global thing. COVID used to be global. And I used to actually have one of my assistants, what we actually went to do in Overdrive was provide free information, not just for our members, but for everyone. So we were doing Facebook and YouTube live streams every Saturday called the Real Property Report. And my assistant would do research all week. And I'd literally read off what the COVID cases were in each one of these areas in the world and what's happening. Because remember how long ago this was, how interesting that was. Oh, the case count in Brazil is this. The case count in China is this. Because it was a real thing for a while there. It was really, really impactful. Then on top of that, we'd have experts come on and then really talk about the latest situations in real time. What's happening with these rents? We'd have our property managers on, or what's happening with the mortgages now, with the real estate. What is allowed? What isn't allowed? What do you do if your house is listed for sale? How can you find properties? So all these sort of things that people were happening, as well as helping them make sense of how to take advantage of all these government incentives. Remember at one point, you didn't have to pay your mortgages. You remember there's other points and people are like, do I do that? Don't I do that? Do I get assistance? Don't I get assistance? So we had our accountants, lawyers, finance people, everyone was really just on there managing the people that really genuinely help people that had a lot of questions. So we kind of went in as a point of authority at that point to really sort of help people get the support that they need in that time, members, as well as the general public. And that had hundreds of people on those webinars, just watching and listening and asking questions because people didn't know what to do. The second thing we started doing since we got used to the Zoom platform was we did a huge expansion and we opened up 30 RPI education chapters. And we started testing markets, first of all, to see where there's a need. Where do people want to improve their financial literacy? Where are these areas that are interested in learning more about investing in real estate? And after we tested a huge number of chapters, we actually picked 30 of them and had chapters not only across Canada, we spread and built these wealth teams there, also all across the US, as well as the UK and Australia. So it actually allowed us to grow our business. And I spent most of the first 6 months to a year vetting real estate professionals and investment professionals in each one of these areas so we can emulate the chapter that we have here in Toronto and have the same team of wealth builders. So when someone in Atlanta, Georgia wants to improve their financial literacy, they have access to those professionals. They have a real estate specialist, mortgage specialist. They have a private market specialist, home inspector, contractor, So in each one of those areas, it's not just such a silo field like where we're operating just in Toronto. So that's COVID actually ended up working for our benefit and allowed us to be a global company, not just a local a local company. And it's been amazing. We met so many interesting people, and we've really been able to help expand our reach and just help thousands of people over the past few years.
Yeah. So I have a couple more questions over for the audience, but I mean, how does it feel just to know that you help change lives? Not only in your country, Canada, but all over the world.
It's a tremendous responsibility, and it almost comes in with a lot of imposter syndrome too. And I don't feel like it's even started, but I couldn't imagine. In reality, I could just run my own real estate portfolio and transactions and achieve all the goals that I need to achieve. And to be honest, for me, it feels purposeless, because if your business is not based on passion and passion driven, then what's the point? So yes, we could do this for ourselves. Yes, we could do this for our family, but what we really are passionate about is filling the wealth gap. Because most middle working class people are trying to do things a traditional way, just like we were. And we tried for years to make money, years to stop living paycheck to paycheck, years to try to, figure out how can we achieve retirement? How can we help our kids out? And when I realized that me going back to work as a teacher full time, and here teachers make a lot of money. So I thought, if we live in a society where it takes 2 six-figure salaries to just get by, what the heck is that? What kind of world is that? So we're in this to be game changers. Like, we're in this to work with other wealth professionals like yourself, other people who are passionate about real estate, investments, finance, to spread the words, to show everyday people how they can be doing these financial literacy tactics like the top 2%. They could change their financial lives. They don't need to accept the cards they've been given. They have control, and real estate is the number one wealth builder. And it's one of those wealth builders that could be such an impactful investment that the everyday person can do it if they're guided correctly. They just need to know the proper steps. And once they get those steps, their whole financial lives will be changed forever.
I'm fired up, Monika. This is awesome. This has been awesome. So 2 more questions. Number one, and I always like to ask everybody, if I'm just a new person, I'm watching this for the first time, what's my first steps you think I should do in real estate?
Your first steps of doing real estate really is to build a strong network. I think that should be the real first step, and to build a strong network of people who are smarter than you. So I always say you are like the 5 people who you surround yourselves with. And if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So you want to go to find a network of people who are doing what you want to be doing. And so you can sort of learn the steps of what those people are doing, but really be careful when you pick your professionals, pick your mentors. But you want to slowly build your wealth team around you. And so with your wealth team, obviously in regards to real estate, you want to find people who can help you achieve what it is that you really want to achieve and follow whatever that strategy is. But remember, you have to also build your wealth team of accountants. Like, you can't just use the same accountant you always used, or go to H&R Block or whatever like that. You have to have a proper real estate accountant. You have to have a proper real estate lawyer, learn about how insurance sort of works. Learn about what other passive investors are doing in the big scale, like apartment syndicators and private market people. So there's all these different sort of things that you want to surround yourselves with. So I think, rather than spending time, just watching TV or doing whatever, people can spend their time coming on to meetups like this, learning from other people, going to, other events or workshops, and really kind of taking that time to increase your education. I think education is key, as well as your supportive network.
Okay. And then last question, if somebody wants to find out more about you or things like that, what is a link or you have to find out more about you and your network?
Excellent. So it's www.rpieducation.com, or just Google Monika Jazyk, and a lot of these neat podcasts will pop up, and there's more talks like these there too.
Okay, cool. I love it. So I want to open up for questions from the attendees. So if anybody has a question for Monika, please ask. Come on, Angel.
I can
Fred got
kick
you.
it off.
Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, as I was listening to the early part of your story, I was wondering, how did your '08 loss compare to your early real estate losses?
Oh my gosh. Well, the '08 losses, that's a really good question. I've never been asked that before. They both, the '08 losses, we lost pretty much everything of what we saved so far, if that made sense. But we also, and there wasn't nearly as much. There certainly was not $1 million of mistakes or losses made there. But it was all we knew how to do in regards to the retirement, in regards to the kids' education. So maybe we were looking at tens of thousands of dollars rather than hundreds of thousands to over $1 million of mistakes. But it hurt just as much because I think the biggest gain of it actually was the fact that it brought awareness to how little we knew, which was our light bulb moment. So it also worked as a motivator really to how we had no control over those investments and how we just trusted what our friendly financial planner said and followed this advice with really not having any clue what we were doing. So although the loss was less than a dollar amount, it felt huge at the time, but I'm really grateful for that, because if we don't have that pain in our life, and I think everyone here in this room today has had that experience where you feel that no more, no more, I'm not doing this anymore. Something has to change. And I remember Vaughan specifically just walked in when he was so fed up with work and he was so pissed off about this 2008, the market and everything. He just came in, he's like, we're buying real estate. I was like, okay, let's do it, So you really have to experience that pain to help yourself move forward. So for 2008, I'm very, very grateful. And I'm also very, very grateful for the $1 million of mistakes in real estate that we made, and I'm very grateful also for taking all those courses. Now, not because the courses work, because I'll tell you one thing, it's not the education that you get, it's what you learn in the field applying this education. I know I said that a few times. And so we may have made $1 million of mistakes, but we've also became excellent consultants because we literally transacted in pretty much every real estate strategy investment under the sun during those few crazy years. So for that, when someone actually comes to me and asks about a particular strategy or a particular investment, we're actually able to give a real answer and actually really understand what they're doing and give that live advice in real time. And if we don't know the answer, we know exactly who to send them to.
Awesome. No, thanks for that answer. And that was a good segue into my next question as well. So I also did the hotel, went to the hotel and went to the introductory course. And I think we did the 3-day course after that. But I think once we increased the credit limit because it made sense. But then I think we stopped there. but the exposure piece, I think you were talking about it, but it's really the fact that this was such uncharted territory. I had no clue this existed. How to buy real estate, how do you actually invest, how do you find good deals, so that all was kind of mind-blowing. But I guess it was for us, it didn't make enough sense. So I ended up actually going around it and trying things out. Then it made more sense, and you kind of learn by these lessons by action. But I guess looking back at that, knowing what you know now, how would you balance education, application, and kind of finding the path that suits you?
Oh, excellent question. So with education, I think we all, this real estate education never stops. Learning really never stops. So everyone has to take time to monitor their wealth and to follow and take time to learn and improve. And so you're consistently, we always say wealth building never stops. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to go out and get a real estate mentor or do whatever and buy a property, and then that's it. Well, after you do your acquisitions, then you have to maintain your property. right? And then you have to, and when you're maintaining your property, these are long-term investments. You have to monitor these properties, through different economic times as well. And different situations are going to happen to your properties, through the duration of your holds or whatever strategy you're currently implementing. So even if you're not a full-time real estate investor like we are, I think everyone, and we want every American person and Canadian person to be doing is to really be thinking like the top 2%, managing their money, taking time out for their money, putting these finances to the forefront, and really starting to pay attention. And the easiest way to do this, and I was saying this on one of our group coaching sessions today, is have a financial Friday. Every Friday in the morning, when you first do whatever it is you're doing, your must-do items, pay all your bills on one day, have a look. We have all the tools and all the sort of things that have the spreadsheets to get people organized, the investment wealth binders, the spreadsheets, your income and expenses. Everything needs to be listed out, because if you don't manage your money and monitor your money and your wealth and your investments, it's going to run away on you. And how do you ever know when you're achieving? So even if everyday people just take that commitment and have a financial Friday, spend 1 hour once every Friday thinking about your finances, start talking about your finances with your spouse, with your kids, with your family. Let's make money conversations, normal, not taboo. Then we're showing money that we're here to respect money and to grow money and to really kind of build that financial future. This is what the top 2% do. Now, ideally, obviously, as you manage your investment portfolio, you're going to be spending a little more time. I'd suggest probably maybe an hour a day, but start with an hour a week. Just start with Financial Fridays, these little habits that help people form these, and just start focusing on your finances and investments during that time rather than killing time doing something else.
Great, thank you. That was good response.
I just want to say thank you for your presentation. That was a great presentation. But at the end, when you said spend 1 day a week, that's fire. Because we as people we just keep on going, and we don't stop to take a look at what's going on. And I appreciate that comment, because that's why I did that this past the beginning of the year. I take a hard stop, because last year I retired. The year before I was going. I was even looking at nothing. I was just going. I had to take a stop, and I started with you this year here. I started with a spreadsheet. Here's what I own, the different cards, and we got to get back to business. So I appreciate that comment.
Thank you. No, I think it's really important. You're right. Like, life just kind of goes, and you wake up and pretty soon the day's over and you don't even know what you've done for it. And, I try to compartmentalize my life in all aspects like this. Like, we're a family of 6. It's a really busy household here. So I only do laundry 1 day a week also. And because the way I look at it is, if I did laundry every single day, my whole life will be laundry. So your whole life doesn't have to be money or investments or sports or family, or, well, family obviously is going to take everyone's precedent, but it doesn't have to be just one thing. We have a great big life to live, and a lot of it has equal different parts of importance. So if we don't compartmentalize these things and make them a priority, they'll just never happen. And what we don't focus on, we never have a chance to grow.
One more question, because you talked about you were educated, you got education doing flips, this, that, and the third, right? What would you recommend for people who are coming in to invest in real estate now, right? What should they just, because I know they call it the shiny object syndrome, right? What do you suggest on people who see there's so many different things you can do in real estate? What do you suggest to someone who's just starting to invest?
So I think that the most important thing is to really start off with your why and figure out why you want to do this in the first place. And I remember when I started, I said my why is my kids, but I wasn't anywhere near my kids. Like taking your kids to a job site's not spending time with your kids, and working 20-hour days is not spending time with your kids. So you have to really figure out, what is it I want to do this for in the first place? And you have to make it fit with your life so it doesn't fight with your life. And then from that, you mentioned shiny penny syndrome. It's so amazing to hear what everyone else is doing, but you have to figure out what you want to do and match a strategy to match your why, basically. So we have to look at this from, let's pretend your why is income replacement. You're not going to pick a real estate strategy that's going to, like, buy, rent, hold real estate that will take forever to really replace your income. This is where that 100 homes comes in, because real estate investing is great. Buy, rent, hold real estate is, everyone should have it in their portfolio, but it's a very slow wealth builder. And the primary thing that people should be focusing on are areas of strong economic fundamentals, not cash cows, unless the cash cows happen to be in these areas with strong economic fundamentals. So people really need to figure out, if you're like, I want to make $100,000 a year this year, I'm going to buy a buy, rent, hold property, and that's it. That's not going to work for you, right? It's not going to achieve that why. You're going to end up having a property that's great for your long-term growth, but you haven't solved whatever that immediate problem is. So when we create these goals, these why goals, and we match them to the strategy, it's really, really important to pick one and focus and do one thing. And this is what our focus coach taught us. It's like digging a post. So you're putting the post in the ground. And if you just start hammering this post in the ground, and then you lose interest and you go do another post, and then another post, and then another post, what do you end up with?
A crooked fence.
You don't even you have a bunch of holes in the ground and a crooked fence. But if you master one strategy, achieve one goal, then you can move on to the next goal. So if you take this focus, less is more approach, you're more likely to be successful in real estate investing. So I think an amazing strategy, that's my personal favorite strategy, is the BRRRR strategy. I absolutely love the BRRRR strategy. And because this actually allows you to invest in high growth areas, it allows you, and actually I have a bit of spin on my BRRRR strategy. It really is more of a BRRRR conversion strategy. So we go into these areas that are these high growth areas. Yes, the homes may be a little expensive, maybe not, depending on what area it's in. But we're able to take that single family home and create other units in the home. So it might be a basement conversion, it could be an ADU, like in the form of a garden suite. And so all of a sudden this one property now has 3 units in it, but it still has the appreciation of the single family home. Because your single family home is always going to be your highest appreciating asset. So this allows you to go in there and now actually have more likelihood of cash flowing, because rather than just collecting rents from one property, you're collecting it from 2 or possibly even 3 properties. Plus you're increasing the value of the property by hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if I go in there and I get a home for, say, $500,000, and I finish the basement and I create a garden suite in the back, I'm going to want the after repair value of this home to be closer to $800,000. And then when I go to the bank and get a new mortgage on that $800,000 property, I'm able to pull all that money out, that equity out. And then you could either use the money for a down payment and maybe construction, depending on how much you pull out for another property, and repeat the process. But even if you stop there, let's pretend you're just an everyday person, you want to add real estate to your portfolio, and you stop there. With these strategic refinances, you should be pulling out between $75,000 to $150,000. It can be very, very powerful. When you pull this out, imagine what you'd be left with at the end of the day. What would your fence look like? It would be a single family home in a high growth area that's been converted to 3 units. And now you have that money, which is pretty much equates to a salary, sometimes 2 salaries, in your pocket right there, just from that one property. And that's a really great thing to have when you condense your portfolio and you focus on these high growth areas. It's a lot easier to have properties that are compacted like that, rather than having 3 separate homes all across 3 different states. It's a lot easier to manage to have that one more expensive asset that actually has the same value as those three properties. And that's why I always challenge people when they try to say, oh, I have this many homes or I have that many homes, when they're in that same mindset that, you know, the more is greater. I always say, well, why? What you doing wrong? Like, why so many? Why so many? Or well, you must have $100 million portfolio, you know, and oh no, I just have maybe 2 million or $1 million. But why so many? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? So you can create that multi-million-dollar portfolio. That one house can fund your retirement. That one house can be refinanced every 5 years, and then fund these big ticket items in your life, what it is that you want to do, whether it's help out your kids or, you know, live off for your retirement or whatever it is you want.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the answer.
But I do like flipping homes too, I have to admit. And now, and I think that was the question too. And it is tricky to flip homes, and it is tricky to burr homes right now too. It's tricky to do anything in real estate right now. But what you want to be doing in real estate right now, because now is like 2008. So there's never been a better time to invest in real estate than now, because there's so many question marks in our economy. So time when you want to follow Warren Buffett's advice, which really is, you know, be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy. And so this is when you want to be picking up these homes and making money when you buy. It's investing rule number one, you know, buy low, sell high. People had it all backwards the last couple of years. They're buying high and now they're selling low because they're scared, or because no one else, real estate's not the cool thing to do right now. So now is the time for all of us to be buying these assets, but really make sure the secret is to make money when you buy. You want to be buying. If the house is valued at $500,000, you want to be picking that house up for $350,000 to $400,000. You need to have that built-in equity, because there's so many question marks, and this market and economy is not going to go away for another couple of years. So, you know, pretty soon what's going to happen though, when those interest rates go down, your real estate properties that you're going to accumulate during these times are going to skyrocket. So if you're able to acquire these properties right now in high growth areas, we always want high growth areas. We need tenants to live in our homes. Otherwise, we're going to have no customers, which are our tenants. If you're able to make that money when you buy these assets now, figure out, you have to have the contingencies in there. Because if you do a BRRRR or you go in for a refinance, appraisals are coming in really, really low. Lenders are tightening restrictions. Don't even pay attention to any of that. If you have the contingencies, you can anticipate these things from happening before you go in for your refinance. Or even if you just take it and hold the property, maybe you change the investment strategy. You might want to do a short-term rental or a mid-term rental to get a little more income in there. But if you're able to stay at that cash flow neutral perspective right now, the key is accumulate as many assets as possible if you can get them, and make that money when you buy, and you'll be laughing in 2 years.
You're right. I believe it.
It's funny because things happen and people forget. So now it's going to be bad times, and then people forget. They're like, it's good times, it's bad times. It's good times, it's bad times. They forget that what goes up must come down. And when things were up, we knew that this was happening. And so we weren't buying anything. What we were doing was taking all of our assets, and all of our members were doing the same thing, and selling everything for ridiculous prices. We're like, you're telling me this house is what? I don't think so. Okay, Mr. Banker, put your money where your mouth is and give me a nice line of credit against that then, if you think that. So we collected got all the equity, all the lines of credit, sold the properties in smaller markets that would never see those prices again for probably another 10 or 15 years, got rid of those properties, and now are just ready and waiting to buy. We picked up some great assets already. Even in the last quarter of 2022, we picked up 3 amazing assets in high growth areas, and each one of them was anywhere between $100,000 to $200,000 below fair market value. And that's really what people need to be figuring out what to do to build wealth in today's market.
So it sounds like you're, I guess you're diversifying your portfolio, probably based off of like regionally also, but how is there anything else you're doing to diversify your portfolio? Or is it are you investing in other asset classes?
Oh, yes, yes, for sure. Not, but well, other asset classes, not really, but other assets and asset types. Yes, I'm extremely lazy, which I love. So I love real estate, obviously. And the asset classes like crypto, I don't do crypto, I don't do stocks, I don't do mutual funds. I just don't feel there's enough control in those. Gold, I do not do, even though it's probably the best time to do it. My main thing really is I diversify amongst different real estate asset classes and investment opportunities. So one really great asset class in regards to real estate with COVID is industrial warehouse space. So that is a huge need for industrial warehouse space. But if I was to buy, remember the fence and the thing, I don't want to spend all my days learning how to buy industrial warehouses and managing industrial warehouses and doing this. So I've learned to diversify a lot of our funds through private market funds and invest in all different types of real estate, like commercial plazas, apartment buildings, apartment syndications, private lending, industrial warehouse space, self-storage, all these different types of assets where I can vet the issuers for these accounts who run these investment projects. They're very, very sophisticated investors. They offer amazing return on investment, but they're private market investments. I don't do publicly traded REITs or mix or any of those types of investments, because any publicly traded product there, especially in the REITs, the majority of the growth has been taken out of them. So we're vetting the investment opportunities that are in the private market space because their growth strategy is to become a publicly traded fund. So, but at the start, if you get in early with these opportunities before they go public, that's where the true growth is. And this is where you can get tremendous ROIs. Your preferred returns are always pretty standard, 6 to 12% or whatever, but it's the equity growth by being part of these. And when you diversify your funds in these, you can now be diversifying your real estate portfolio truly passively, which is really when you're sleeping, you're making money. And that's really where you want to be. So you definitely want to have a mix, because your active real estate ROI is always going to range between anywhere 25 to 76%. You can have on these annualized ROIs for active real estate strategies that you have a lot more, you're either joint venture partner on, or you are managing, this investment yourself as an active investor. And buy, rent, hold real estate is active. A lot of people say passive. It is not. It's active. When I say passive, you write a check, you give it to someone else, or you transfer over your IRA, your 401k. That can be self-directed into real estate as well. A lot of people don't know that. So you want your money working for you, and rather than you working for your money in all different sort of ways, in all different sort of sectors. So I guess that's as diversified as I get. But in regards to, the only actually other asset class that I did invest in was a tech company. And I am an angel investor too. So I do invest in entrepreneurial startups, and those are primarily tech, but I do that out of a goodwill gesture and to help entrepreneurs, because I know what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And everyone kind of knows, those things are really more of a mentorship sort of helping thing. It's not a get rich thing. It's really just a bit of a gamble, sort of like your fun money there. But I did invest in a tech company, but it's called Addy Investment. They're actually launching in the US. So that's ADDY. And they actually have the same premise that we have at RPI Education, where they say everyone can be a real estate investor. And they let people invest for as little as $1, which is really exciting. And these investors are accumulating like A-class assets, so huge apartment buildings, and they all have a share of it where people can invest, everyday people can invest as little as $1 up to $1,500. And this allows the everyday person to go in and also diversify their portfolio. So they can be also, maybe that's all they could afford when they're starting out as a real estate investor. They just don't have that time. And they have some great returns on those investments as well, but I like how inclusive it is, and it includes everyone. And it also goes with our premise where we want everyday people investing in real estate. So I liked it so much, I invested in the actual company. And I'm part owner of the company. rather than, and bought shares in the company, as well as have my own Addy investments as well.
Awesome, super interesting. Thanks for sharing that and kind of how your approach.
Just wanted to add one more thing. I know, Monica, like, even though you talk a lot about Canada and you're from Canada, you don't always invest in your own backyard, because I know that you have some investments in the States too. And I know that your education program is not just limited to Canadians, not even North Americans, like it's all over the world. So I know that you talk a lot about like Canada, but your knowledge is like, so, you know, so much more than just what we have going on in our market.
Yeah, I am so excited to be in the US. This is like so exciting to be on this and meeting other people in the US as well, because we're building 21 homes in Florida right now. So that's a pretty big project. And we are looking to do another round of homes after these. These are pre-construction house flips. We partner with a builder and we have some great homes up to sale, and they're just being listed right now. And the occupancy date will be coming in the spring, which is super, super exciting. And so we're looking to do another round of those homes as well. And we have great specialists in the US that have also amazing investment opportunities, like in really great markets. My favorite US markets are Atlanta, and I know everyone loves Atlanta, as well as I do like where we are in Florida for this opportunity. But Texas is really amazing investment opportunities there as well. And we've been promoting a lot of ways that people can start investing in the Texas market, as well as the Phoenix market, which is really cool, because you'd always think Phoenix is a little more expensive and high end, but we have a great developer out there in Phoenix who helps people actually build homes or even manages flips for people who are in these different states and really get a great return on investment. So I absolutely love being in the US, and I'm looking to do a lot more in the US, because the US is so much bigger than Canada. And there's so many more people to help. And if we really want to get there and help fill this wealth gap, I think we have a pretty good name for ourselves in Canada, but it's the US where we really want to, you know, get a bigger name for ourselves there as well, which is why we republished the book in the US version, US edition language. Before it was just still a Canadian book. And now it's all not even going to Canadian bookstores. It's only going out to all the US bookstores and all those places.
That my thing's been off. But thank you, Monica, for everything. This great information that we have that you provided for us. And was there anything else that you want to provide before we log off?
Well, I'd love for all of you guys to join our group coaching sessions, which we have every other Thursday. And we have one today at 12 o'clock. Sorry?
At 12 o'clock?
12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
9 o'clock.
And we just, you know what it is? A lot of people go in the middle of the day. Well, guess what? Everyone has to have lunch. Real estate investors, or if you're an employee and you're working, you got to eat. So 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we just jump on for an hour, and people can present, you know, some of our experts present off-market deals. People have questions, what's happening with the economy, or questions about real estate and investments. And we have a team of wealth specialists that are on there and, you know, help answer everyone's questions. It's just a great hour of conversation. And I'd love for everyone to come on, and it's free. It's free and fun.
All right. Well, Monica, thank you so much. This recording will be up tonight. I'm going to be downloading as soon as possible. Thank you for so many nuggets you provided. Just a quick question. What part of Australia is your husband from?
He's from Western Australia.
Okay. Okay.
Have you been there?
I've been to Australia. I've been to Brisbane, Australia.
Oh, I've been to Brisbane. That's it. You know what? Brisbane is hosting the next Olympics. Brisbane is a great real estate market.
Yes.
Are you going to buy an investment property there?
I wouldn't mind doing it. I really like the area. I really would not mind doing it. I really like the city. I really enjoyed myself while I was there. I was there for about 3 weeks. I
You're
really
just traveling?
No military application. Yeah, military obligation at the time.
Yeah, no, that's a great market. You should pick up a property there, and you need any wealth specialists or realtors and anywhere in Australia, just let us know. And
Yeah, I definitely want to get with you about that, because I mean, I do think that there's a lot of promise when I got there, and that was years ago. So I know things developed ever since then. It's been over probably about 10 years. Yeah, 10 years since I've been there. But I had a
yeah,
great
well, it is a great place. And even in Sydney, we have a specialist in Sydney. It's fairly expensive in Sydney, but there's ways that you can build wealth and like navigate these markets. And it is interesting. And that actually did inspire us when we started out investing as well, because my husband's actually in Australia. He's from the real Australia, like as in the outback Australia. So if anyone wants to get to know Vaughan, just watch Crocodile Dundee, and that's pretty much him, of where he's from. That's how outback he is. So if you go back to Australia, you definitely get to check out the outback as well. But we lived all over. I lived all over the country, and we together lived all over the state. And we actually were in the city, and as well as on a coastal town called Broome, Western Australia. That's where I ended up getting my master's degree.
So I'm just going to say, I'm going to include your husband as a guest now, since you talked about him. So he's the second man of from Australia that we have interviewed now, because we interviewed somebody last year, a couple, and the gentleman is from Australia, and so and he was great. He was fantastic. So this is awesome. It's awesome, and you know, it already puts a smile on my face every time I interview somebody who's from Australia. It brings back great memories. Also somebody from American Samoa as well. So that same trip I went to Guam, American Samoa, and then Australia. So I had a great time and learned a lot.
Wow, that sounds like a great journey.
Yeah. All right, guys. So look, we will I'll end this session right now. Doesn't mean I have to end it all together, but I just want to say thank you, Monika, once again. It's been a pleasure. You showed me nuggets. It really fired me up, really, because it put some things in perspective as well. But Brandon Jenkins will be our guest speaker next week. So please come on back next week, and we'll see you. God bless you guys. Take care.